Tony, welcome to the video. Welcome to the podcast. Thrilled to have you, man.
Thank you, man. This is exciting to be here. A lot of big stuff happening. So glad we could spend some time together.
Yeah, this is great. And you and I met a couple months ago now. I think I joined Peter, who I'm putting the shift on with, at your, I think, Monday morning, 5:30 a.m. coffee. And
coffee's not even hot by the time I walk in, but I'm wide awake and ready to go.
Exactly. And I quickly found out that I had to be part of the water club as well that morning. So it's mandatory that you get a large or venti coffee, along with your coffee, you get the venti water at Starbucks for that. So
good way to start your day. I heard is a nice glass of water, warm or cold. Just get it in you and get moving.
I love it. Well, no, I'm really looking forward to having you at the shift as well next week. And we get to do a couple things. One is hear you speak, and that's the best way to learn from you. We're also going to give out to each of the attendees your Be Fulfilled journal, which I'm super pumped about as well. And there's got some amazing things in there that if we have a little time today, maybe we can talk about and jump into. But I've got a couple questions for you kind of to get us ready for a shift and kind of get us focused and locked in. But your background is fascinating, right? You've grown multiple, like 6-7 figure businesses. So you're that entrepreneur mindset. You've started this kind of now Be Fulfilled movement, which is really interesting because one of the companies you're running now, ShipOffers, so shipoffers.com, is about fulfillment. And then you've taken that and said, well, wait a minute, we need to be fulfilled as human beings, as just people on this planet in general. So what I'd love to kind of open up with is honestly, like, how did you kind of start this Be Fulfilled movement? Because it's such an obviously natural shift over from your business, but where did that start?
It was born from kind of some of the stuff that I grew up struggling with. I think when I look back at my childhood, I look at two things that happened. One, I grew up in the 70s. My parents divorced, like less than 3 months old. My dad was gay. My mom was a school teacher. And I watched what wasn't something that was talked about was your sexuality in that way. And then I watched mom who had to struggle to find ways to put food on the table for my sister and myself. So I grew up kind of seeing two versions. I saw success. Like I thought I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur and business owner, and did that. And then I watched him make millions and I modeled myself after him. Then I watched him lose millions. I modeled myself after him. I did that. Then over here, quietly, my mom was producing enough money, and just how she figured it out really was the person I probably should have modeled myself after growing up.
Sure.
And I kind of missed out on that. So look back, my mom's been my greatest mentor. She was my first real teacher, somebody who laid tons of valuable lessons in. And I kind of had some up and down kind of issues. In my early 20s, I made my first million. And like I said, I lost it. So then came struggle. I got into drugs and substance abuse. I was married. I had 2 kids. Next thing I know, I was separated from my wife, and I found myself thinking about suicide. I thought, well, man, I screwed everything up. I've everything I wanted, I had, and now I've lost everything. And I received a knock on the door that changed my life forever on October 9th of 2008. It's from my buddy John, and this is why the Be Fulfilled Journal is what it is today. He said, Tony, your life has meaning and purpose, but what you're doing right now doesn't. And so when I heard that and I allowed the wave of emotions to come over me, what I heard was, Tony, you have an opportunity despite your past to do anything you want. You can become anybody you ever dream about becoming, but it really starts with you taking ownership of where you're at. And that was a lot of hard stuff for me to swallow. It took me 45, 50 days later to finally get clean and sober. I've stayed sober ever since. So 12/15 of 08, I actually got sober and I figured out how to put life back together. Tons of community, tons of family, tons of friends. And what I realized was I finally unpacked my story. And so the Be Fulfilled Journal has 12 weeks, 12 amazing stories, 12 teaching tools that anybody can navigate on their journey to fulfillment. And you talked about professional fulfillment. I'm personally fulfilled, and I try to help people say, hey, you know what? No matter what you've done, you can always do better. Yes. Right? You can always change, you can make a difference. And it starts, I love your sign, action equals results. And so I set out to figure out 2 years ago how to launch a journal. I didn't know anything about it. I don't even really like writing. I don't even like, it's not one of my favorite things in the world. I write and I get a hand cramp and I'm like, because I don't write as often. So I took what I didn't like and turned it into something that I absolutely can't see my life without. I can't wait to end my day and begin my day in journaling. I have a private group of members where we're a band of brothers, and we write and we take a photo no matter what it says on it, and we submit it. And it allows us to get away from the loneliness stage and start sharing. I always say you're not weak for asking for help. It's actually a sign of your greatness. So sometimes it comes out in your journaling and someone says like, hey, everything good? And that's just because we care. And so journaling has become something I can't see myself living without. I've got 5 new journals in the works planned on all different themes, from marriage to kind of a spiritual walk, trying to find yourself in life with all these different religions and things. And there's a whole secret mission behind it to end depression and to really end what I think is the biggest issue we face in our world today, is discrimination. So that's one message and mission behind that journal. I've got a sales journal, and I love helping people. And so my next journal that we're working on right now, we're going to go to print next Monday, is a recovery journal. Just to help people in recovery. Maybe you've had cancer. Maybe somebody you know had a loss and you've been there to support them. Not recovery just in like alcoholics or, drug addicts, but just in recovery in general. So I'm real passionate about helping people, because people came to my need at the right moment. And that really has impacted my life in such a way that now I can go be the change that I wish to see in this world.
That's incredible. And I'm thankful for John, back when he knocked on your door that one time, because now, I've gotten to know you and get to spend more time with you next week and continue to build our relationship and all that. I think it's pretty incredible. It's fascinating to me. I think as males, I think there's a stigma of like, show no weakness, be tough. You can figure it out alone. And to your point, like you having that accountability group, you like even being brave enough to say like, I journal on a daily basis. Some guys listening to this might be like, oh my gosh, like he journals. And it's like, no, this has become a critical tool along with surrounding yourself with great people. That's the differentiator, right? That's what it has to be. And I was just explaining on another interview I was doing, it's like this mental toughness concept, which I talk about, right? That's my kind of thing, like mental toughness. It's not show no weakness, show no fear, go it alone. It's no. It's the opposite of that. And all we're trying to do is close that time gap, right? And so when you go off track, the faster you get back on, based on the tools you have, which journaling is one of them, man, like that opens up everything: business, relationships, career, literally everything, fitness, recovery, all that stuff. It's huge.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sales team here at Ship Offers, they find themselves doing what I helped them to design, and they kind of came back and gave me some input, was the daily docket. And the daily docket is something that you start in the morning and you just kind of create your day, right? I think we all have the opportunity, but most of us don't put the oxygen mask on first. We're so busy tending to everybody else, we forget to take care of ourselves. So the journal, the daily docket, causes me to slow down and say, all right, what's my current focus? What is it that I really need to achieve today? How am I going to achieve it? What support do I need to get there? And then quickly, 5-10 minutes, you're done and you're on to the day. And then I save them and everybody turns them in. I don't read a single one of them. It's not for me to micromanage or babysit. What it is for us to get in on a Friday and say, all right, let's go rate ourselves. How did we do this week? Where was there room for growth and improvement? And what things did I, really celebrate with my team that I now need to know, because maybe I wasn't around. So they get a now chance to share their wins with me, and I get to celebrate wins with them. And so the daily docket really is the to-do and the schedule inside the beginning of the journal. Every day you get to do that, Monday through Sunday. And it's something that I have found to be fascinating because it's simple, it's duplicatable, you can PDF it, print it out, you can create your own. But I'm like, no matter what you do, somebody said to me today, I've got it on my phone. And I'm like, do you know that I have it on a piece of paper? It's sitting in front of me, because your phone, yes, it may be with you all the times, but it's not open to the page you need. So I have a reminder. I'm old school. I like taking something with me. So my journal's with me wherever I go. It's a reminder at the end. I get to check it off, celebrate small wins and big victories. And it rates you on kind of how are you doing in the day? Like, how's your sleep? How's your how's your free time? Like how for you, have you found some personal time in your day?
Yes.
And I think that when people spend any time in reflection, a couple things become apparent. You get to see where your time goes, and you can start to measure what you need to work on. And you also gain massive insight in how much you've really won. Because we're so good. We're creatures of habit. All we do is, oh, that's over. Let's go get the next one. And I'm like, no, let's celebrate what you've done. And what could you learn from it to help you do better in the future? Because at the end of the day, I really want you to chase the wins. I want you to study the lessons, and I want you to never quit. I never want you to get to the point where I was suicidal in my life, where I didn't think I mattered. And that was the complete BS that my head can do if I'm left alone to my own devices. I can have that negative talk.
And I appreciate you being so open about this, because I think how we all get to that place, right? Of not necessarily like to that level of suicide, but it's like, some people are there, right? I talk to you, and I'm sure you have too, but I talk to a lot of like professional athletes as soon as they finish, this is true of Olympians as well, that where they start contemplating suicide, because that purpose, to your point, the purpose, the passion, like the reason they were doing it in the first place is gone, right? And so it's redefining yourself and kind of moving to that place. But so from your, like looking back when you're at that point of suicidal, and you're like, and John knocks on the door and you start kind of, how did you start? Because that's the biggest thing for people, to take the first step, right? The first step is the hardest. And then it becomes easier after that. I think we have to take this gigantic leap. And it's like, no, just one little step, right? It could be a toe in front of your other foot, right? How did you like decide that it was like, what was the first small thing? How did you kind of, I don't know, tip the needle there and start that process for you?
You know, I know that day so well. I know the chair. I know where I was sitting. I know what I was doing. I know what my life felt like. I know the emptiness I had inside. And all John really spoke to me about was hope. You know, he just shared like, hey, I'm here to help you. We can do this together. You're not alone. And I think, and I use the word I think because it's just my opinion, is that we're in this place today, in this world and society. A lot of craziness and crazy stuff is happening all around us, and we don't know what to do. You know, I asked my son last night, we were sitting on the bed talking about, there was a shooting here in Colorado, and we were talking about, you know, how does he feel? What would you do? Like if a gunman walked in and started shooting, you know, would you leap? Would you duck? Would you run? What would you do? And I'm like, I can't believe I haven't had that conversation with him.
Right.
And so what we talked about was options. And when you choose not to kill yourself and you choose to live, you have the best option available, which is you have opportunity all around you. And mental illness, I was talking to somebody today who literally dropped off their kid, 10 years ago or so at the daycare, and had a gun, came home and was crying, and walked in the house, and a neighbor, an elderly woman, came over and started talking to him and convinced him in 120 seconds or less not to do anything. She could see the warning signs. And I think devices today really, they don't highlight the warning signs. We can't see what's really going on. So we need to spend more time getting connected to people. And we need to, when you tell me, Matt, if you're like, how you doing? You're like, I'm good. A question that's going to follow is like, can you define good for me?
Yes.
I need to know you're good. I need to know what that looks like, because when I don't see it, I'm going to ask you because we're friends. Yes. Or I'm a random stranger and it looks like, you know what, you're not okay. And maybe I can just sit with you and we can just chat. I don't care what we talk about. I just want to try to shift. That's why I love the whole movement. I was thinking yesterday, one of my favorite movies is by Wayne Dyer called The Shift. And I love the fact of when you move from one thing to the next, you don't pivot too far. You just shift just a little. And so I sat on that sofa. I sat in that chair with John, and I shifted from wanting to live in a disease mindset to be in an empowered mindset. From that moment, I made a decision. That's all life is a bunch of decisions. Yep. Just make a decision. You'll figure out the rest on your way down or way up, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. And I just decided right then and there I was going to turn my life around. I didn't know what it looked like. I was $1 million in debt. I owed the IRS a ton of money. I'm living in 2 places. Credit card companies didn't want to give me money. And I'm like, all right, I got options. I can file BK. I can just totally do that. I made a decision because I got in this mess. I'm going to figure out how to get out of the mess. And along the way, I've been able to use that and help others to get out of their mess without having to go and file bankruptcy.
Wow. So here's the key message I want to get across, which you just said this, right? you made a decision and you didn't know what was next, but a belief in like hope. I'm making this decision and I'm going to take whatever action I need at this point. And I think that's such a powerful point, because we feel like we have to have, at least I do, you have to have this grand plan pulled together. Like, here's the next 10 steps that are going to get me out of bankruptcy or help me avoid it or whatever. But it's like, no, one decision, then make the next, then make the next, and just compound that.
Well, that time, it's my buddy John. A couple of days later, it's my pastor friend who had just walked me maybe months earlier through kind of figuring out kind of my religious path or my spiritual path. And I had a really good time doing that. It was great. And here I was several months later calling him, and I was at my wit's ends. And he said, hey, can I talk to you? And he came over and we chatted for like 2 hours, and a couple of weeks went by, and then he came over to my house with my wife, and we were kind of just working through getting back together. And he said, guys, love is a decision. Love is a decision, and you just have to choose, right? I don't know how it all is going to go. That was over 10 years ago. My wife and I just celebrated 20 years together. So Jim Rohn talks about difficulties mixed with opportunities. That's all life is, right? We're going to face difficulties. We're going to face opportunities. It's about the perseverance. It's about never giving up. It's about action. It's about not sitting and just saying, well, I hope it gets better. I'm like, no, hope is a great term. It's like deodorant. It expires eventually. So what can you do today to get into action? And into action is a part of my 12-step program that I'm in. I live in the knowledge of knowing that, I'm a human being experiencing a spiritual experience wherever I go every day of my life, connecting with people that I've met for 2 minutes, and I can get so connected that you and I both can be crying in 3 minutes because I have no hidden agenda. I don't need anything. I've got everything. Do I want more? Yes, but doesn't everybody? And so I just try to live in this very moment, this context of you and I on a conversation, no distractions, no other things going on, no worries. Time is set aside. So every person going to the shift needs to clear their schedule and needs to clear their docket, needs to lose all the distractions. Yes. Distractions are going to happen regardless. Yes. It's really the size of the leader that gets shown in that moment of yes. what is appearing, what is showing up. And you have to decide, like, you know what? Like, I believe in Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call it. I believe in negative energy, always trying to get your good energy. So drop your ego. That's me edging good out of my life, and get focused on what it is and give everything you've got, because you want to become more, give more. And you don't have to feel like, you have to tithe 100%. No, I'm like, just tithe a little bit. Why? Because it tells me, hey, good things happen for people who tithe. It's good for the world. It makes things happen. So when I implore and take this mindset and use it, what it's telling me is like, hey, you've been saved. You've been given a new opportunity. What are you going to do with it? I've been a 3-time All-American, the highest level, competing in the sports. I almost got a chance to go to the Olympics and play in water polo. I injured myself. That led to part of my drug addiction. That led to some of my demise. But it also was the thing that had to happen so I could get to this conversation with you right now, Matt. Yes. All of that brought me to here. Yes. So a lot of people need to realize that no matter what you've done, you can do better. And when you get to the shift and you get to experience the ultimate shift, that's wherever you're at in your life, is you need to walk into the room not needing to be the smartest person, but being the person who needs to learn something new. And I challenge myself, challenge you, I challenge everybody. When you walk into the room, be mindful of what's going on. And I teach that, called the growth mindset, inside the journal. That's to be grateful for where you're at, what you're going through. Be real with yourself so you can be real with others. Be open-minded to what's being taught. What could you learn today, right? The W stands for willingness. The willingness is like, you got there, so now what are you going to do about it? And then the T stands for teachable. You got to be a student every day. My mom taught me that, and I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. I can't go in knowing I can teach the class. I need to know I need to sit and be taught today, because there's something I'm going to learn if I listen. And then the H stands for happy, or happiness, right? That's where I find my true happiness, is when I'm in that mindset of gratitude, when I'm giving, when I'm serving, when I'm helping. The business does well, the personal life does well, the marriage does well, the kids and the family and the friends all does well, because I'm not trying to get anything. I'm trying to receive nothing, and I'm giving everything, and I get it all in return. I'm leading with my heart today, not my wallet. As an entrepreneur in my 20s, I was trying to lead with my wallet. I'm like, I'll sell more, I'll make more, I'll be happier. And instead I became bankrupt. in that sense. And my wallet was empty. And today I lead with my heart, and my heart feels good. My wallet fills up, makes some money, and I'm happier.
Yes.
And life just seems to work. So I just choose today. And I think that's such part of the decision of you guys made a decision. Like, I couldn't be more proud of you and your co-host, your counterpart, Peter, and I. We knew each other 6-7 years ago, walked onto a lacrosse field together. And we didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we chose in the moment to figure it out. And we became fast friends, and we choose to get up 3 or 4 times a month and go meet for coffee. And I think that's what life is about, is you have to choose in this very moment that deep down inside you can do better. And when I say do better, I mean, like, better. You can make better decisions. You're watching late night boob tube, turn the thing off. Like, that you got a bike downstairs, go ride your bike. Go take a walk with your wife. Go read a book. Go do something that challenges you, not something that our society's built and created for you, which is called laziness. Yep. Like, you've got skills inside of you, start using them. And that's all I did with my life, is I just saw an opportunity and a path. John painted it as very simple. Like, what's the famous Bob Ross? 1, 2, 3, 4. It wasn't 1 to 4, because that wouldn't look good. So it was 1, 2, 3. And I just kept putting, left foot over right foot. Next thing I know, I'm walking, and then I'm running, and I'm feeling a lot better, and my life seems to work.
That's incredible. Well, so for you listeners, if you're not a little fired up to come to the shift after hearing Tony speak in these last 15, 20 minutes, I don't know what's going to get you fired up, honestly. And it's funny, Tony, because, I've joked with him. I always joke about this, but, I tell people I started this business for myself. And the reason I do a podcast is for myself. And the reason I'm throwing the shift experience is for me. And I'm joking, right? A little bit in that, but there's truth to it, right? Where I get to now sit, listen to you, interact with all these other great speakers we've got coming to this. And probably more importantly is just interact with the people in the room who are part of this thing. I'm coming in as running the thing with this open mind of, like, I get to learn from every individual that walks in, because they've got this amazing story. And I'm going to have my notebook out, taking notes furiously during this time, because I'm going to learn as much as everybody else sitting there.
Yeah, and that's just I want to back it up, because I can be right where you're at, right? We do a lot of things out of ego, right? I just say, hey, look, you have to first buy in before anybody else is going to buy in. So I'm so grateful that you bought in to, like, hey, I want to go launch a podcast. Hey, I'm going to go do my coaching business. Hey, I'm going to go launch an event, because no one else is going to do it for you. Yeah. There's a great saying, like, there's no one's coming to save you. Right. So you got to figure out how to save yourself. And I'm glad that you said yes to wanting to get up, get lit up, and get motivated and say, hey, let's go do this, because you created a movement with Peter over the last 90 days. People are coming, you're having it in a phenomenal venue. You're going to put on a great event. People are going to leave inspired, moved, and into action. They're going to be the ones that, they're going to long remember the event because you decided to do it. Remember, people are attending your event now. You're not attending somebody else's event. So what an honor and what a gift to be able to sit there. And then community and connection with people in the crowd, the people working the event, the people at the ballpark, all of that. That's all the community and connection we got to build. You never know what you don't know, but when you stick out your hand, you have a whole opportunity to make a new network, make a new friend, and really to take yourself to the next level. So I always say, take your hand out of your pocket, stick it out, and say, hello. My name is Tony Grebmeier. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Great. Tell me something amazing going on in your life right now. And spend a moment in that moment and really think about what I said. I just decided to choose to focus my focus.
Yes.
And that's what you chose to do. You focus your focus. You're like, why am I going to go to another event? I'm going to go put on the best event.
Yes.
And so we're going to be talking about this for years to come. We're going to be talking about when you announce at this event, your next event, because it's called momentum.
You bet. You
right?
bet.
And that's what I love. I love people into action every single day.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to end with, Tony, is a thank you to you, because for everybody listening, it's community, right? It's who you surround yourself with. And Tony, you've been phenomenal in giving Peter advice, me advice, guidance, even like on the shift, among other things. And it's all about you elevate yourself based on who you surround yourself with, or you can go the other way. We've chosen to elevate. That's why you're in our lives. And I'm just so blessed and thankful that you're coming to the event. You're going to be part of it. You're going to inspire people, and for all your help just building up to this point. So thank you for that.
I'm honored. And like I said, somebody who's always in observation mode. So I'm learning from you guys so I can pull off my event later in the year. And so I'm looking to you guys for inspiration and motivation. And I cannot wait it's going to be one of the first opportunities my mom gets to come along and hear her son speak, right? So
Awesome.
One fun fact that you can take with you today that maybe the world doesn't know in a lot. I didn't talk until I was 4 years old. I was in special education all the way through high school. I get tongue-tied like this from time to time. And then I took all of that despite everything that had happened, and I went and had a radio career for 13 years.
Brilliant.
So no matter what you've gone through, know that you're going to be surrounded by people who are going to love on you. They're going to help you. They're going to pull you up. We're going to do it together. The shift is going to be an amazing experience you don't want to miss. And make sure you get in that room. I'm honored to be in the room and then look at the caliber of guests and speakers and the people who are coming. This is a corporate event, in my opinion. This is the top 100. You got to get there. You got to be in the room. You got to see what the magic. Live events changes lives. So you got to get to an event if you want to experience something magical, because I can come back from the event and tell you, and you're like, well, I'll go to the next one. I'm like, what happens if this was the only one you needed to go to, and that big idea you've been sitting on, you found an action plan to get into action and you launched it. And 1 year from now, you look back and you're like, that was the best decision. That's why you need to be in this room.
Yep. I love it, man. The Shift, May 15th and 16th. Come meet Tony, shake his hand, give him a hug. He'll buy you a water, which is free. Anyway, come join us. Tony, thanks, dude. I really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week, dude.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Matt. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, buddy.